Good afternoon to all of our guests that have joined us. We're so delighted that you're all able to take some time out of your busy days and join us for our first episode of the Divorce Law Monitors new webinar. I'm Elizabeth Crowley, as I mentioned before. I'm here with my longtime partner and colleague, Ron Barriere. We are both of Burns and Levinson, based in Boston. We really hope that our discussion today is informative, that it's useful, that it's insightful. We're going to be discussing how to know when you are ready to divorce, with the goal of helping individuals and any advisors that may be helping individuals in these types of scenarios know when perhaps any types of difficulties in a marriage have passed from the stage of just typical marital difficulties to sometimes, unfortunately, marriage ending unhappiness or real conflict. We're going to talk about what to look for in a family law lawyer, as well as how a family law lawyer can help you and your family if you or if you find one of your clients to be in a situation where they are desirous in needing assistance. And before we get into the substance of today's presentation, just a few housekeeping matters. One, we're going to make certain at the end that if you have any questions at all, there's a Q&A, a question and answer feature at the bottom of your screen that you will see, and that's a way to be able to send us a confidential question. And so we will all keep our eyes on that and make certain to the best of our ability that we answer any and all questions. And certainly if for some reason you have questions after the fact or you don't feel comfortable asking it in that form, you can feel free to reach out to us individually after, and would be delighted to assist. And so with that said, just a notification for our own internal purposes, our marketing department is recording this presentation. And so just wanted to notify everybody of that. Your images cannot be seen by anybody else. Everybody can see, obviously, my and Ron's images and hear us. Everybody else's videos and audios are off just for confidentiality purposes. So I wanted to assure you all of that. And so I'll go into my introduction. I've already told you who I am. I have been at Burns and Levinson for 14, going on 15 years. I practice exclusively in the private client group with a focus on divorce and family law. I handle a myriad of types of family law matters with a focus on high net worth divorces. I handle child custody matters. I handle complex asset valuation. And prior to coming to Burns and Levinson, I clerked in the probate and family court for the justices in the family court division of the trial courts of Massachusetts. And so I've worked with Ron for the entirety of my career at Burns and Levinson, which has been a pleasure. We have one of the largest private client groups in the city. And so many of us there have been there together for a long, long time. I settle the vast majority of my cases. I probably settle approximately 95% of my cases. That doesn't mean that I'm not in court routinely. I'm a litigator by trade. And oftentimes it takes litigation and skilled negotiations to be able to get a case resolved. But that said, I do resolve the vast majority of cases. I'm a trained conciliator. I take both court-appointed conciliations, mediations, and private appointments as well. And I use that as part of my practice routinely. And so with that said, pleasure to meet all of you. So delighted we could spend some time together, and I'll pass it over to my colleague, Ron.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ron Barriere. I've been with Burns and Levinson for over 19 years. I practice in all aspects of family law litigation and mediation, guardianships, divorces, post-divorce litigation, non-marital custodial disputes, adoptions, all aspects of family law and probate litigation, as well as mediation. I'm a trained mediator as well as a court conciliator. I'm often appointed by the court, just as Elizabeth is, to serve as a conciliator. Like Elizabeth, I encourage settlement wherever possible. The vast majority of my cases also settle. That being said, I do a fair amount of trial work. I'm often brought in both as trial counsel for Burns and Levinson attorneys who maybe don't have the trial experience that I do, or outside law firms who are looking for some assistance in trying the complex issues that family law litigation can present. Um, I have a kind of a holistic approach to handling family law matters. I recognize, just as Elizabeth does, that we're involved with your family, we're involved with your lives. So it's very important to me, as well as to Elizabeth and all of our attorneys, that there's a comfort level and a rapport with all of our clients. So that's something that both Elizabeth and I are going to be talking about periodically throughout today's presentation, the importance of developing a rapport with your family law guidance attorney, because the reality is we're dealing with some of the most sensitive issues you're ever going to deal with in your life, and your trust is of critical import.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, Ron. And Burns and Levinson, for those that you may not be familiar with Burns and Levinson has been around for about 60 years. We just had a big anniversary. It's a mid-market regional law firm. We have our main office here in Boston. We have over 125 attorneys. We also have offices for convenience of our clients in Hingham, where Ron is right now. We also have an office in Andover. We have an office in Wellesley, and we also have a Providence office. And we found over the years it's very convenient for our clients, whether they don't want to come into Boston or simply it's more convenient depending upon where they are to be able to meet there. Burns and Levinson is a full service firm. We have we have a corporate department, intellectual property, and obviously the group that we are in, the private client group. Private client group consists of the divorce and family law department that handles any types of divorce and family law matters, paternity matters. Obviously, divorce is what we're focusing on here today. And the private client group also has probate and trust litigation, tax and estate planning. And I will tell you, one of the reasons I came to Burns and Levinson, and one of the reasons I've stayed so long, is the benefits to our practice in being in a full service firm, and the benefit that is able to be transferred to our clients. And just to give you an example, if we have a thorny trust issue or a tax issue or a corporate issue in a divorce and family law matter, I'm a phone call or an email away from a trusted partner to be able to step in and to be able to get that specialized expertise to be able to add value for our clients. As I mentioned before, we have one of the largest, if not the largest, private client groups in the city, and same for the divorce and family law group. Most of us partners have been together for the bulk of our careers. As I said, I've been at Burns & Levinson 14 going on 15 years, Ron longer than that. And most of the partners that we are working with on a day-to-day basis have been there equally, if not much longer than us. And the benefit of that to our clients is, we have a level of trust and respect for one another that is really able to give us that depth for our practice, for our clients, and really to be able to deliver exceptional legal representation. And it's not uncommon for somebody like me and Ron and some of our other partners and colleagues to text one another on the weekends, holidays, when things come up that are important to our clients, to really make certain that that they're benefiting from the depth of our department and the years of experience collectively that all of us have. And with that said, Ron, I'll pass it off to you just to go over the Divorce Law Monitor and what it is and how it came into creation.
Sure. And the Divorce Law Monitor is a good example of the value added that we try to bring to all of our clients. The Divorce Law Monitor is a publication that we make periodically on the website, which is divorcelawmonitor.com. And we have several contributing authors who write articles of interest about people who are interested in learning more about family law, maybe going through the divorce process, maybe considering going through the divorce process, or have other complicated family law related issues that may arise in their marriage or in their post-marriage life that they think they could use some more information on. So we periodically publish, again, articles of interest. And those are authored by seasoned family law lawyers, including outside guests occasionally when we feel it's going to benefit our readership. So I encourage all of you to take a few moments after today and check out the Divorce Law Monitor, because there are many articles of interest authored by myself, Elizabeth, and a number of our other colleagues that we think could help you in your decision-making process about whether or not it's the time for you to seek divorce.
Thank you so much, Ron. And, one of the questions we get so often and with client inquiries are individuals reaching out, saying something akin to, I'm having X, Y, or Z issue. I think this may be headed to divorce. That's something I'm interested in pursuing, or sometimes conversely, clients will say it's not something I'm interested in pursuing, but I want to make sure I'm protecting myself. I want to make sure that I'm thinking of the right things. Different times people will ask, especially in a climate with the ongoing pandemic and people seeing in the news that divorce filings are up. Individuals divorce for any number of reasons. Are there some commonalities between cases and circumstances at times? Certainly, but each case is individual with its own set of facts. It's really important to us as practitioners and advisors that we're mindful of that. Every client comes to us with their own unique set of circumstances, their life story, the history of their marriage, what their goals and desires are. And we really try to take a creative approach to making certain that we're tailoring our advice and our representation to that client accordingly. And so, are there typical reasons where people may come to us? Just to give you some examples, sometimes people will reach out. There may be adultery. There may be financial infidelity. There may be, concerns regarding transparency over assets or finances, or concerns regarding transparency in general with respect to any number of activities. There may be mental health concerns, substance use and abuse, difficulties with blended families, difficulties with children with unique or special needs, or any combination of any of those and many other issues. And so, I often will tell prospective clients and individuals that come to me, especially if they're hedging or they're uncertain, I am not in the business of guiding people who are not interested in divorcing to divorce. I've given therapist names to prospective clients that have been delighted, have been able to save their marriages, and it is obviously a uniquely personal decision that sometimes takes a long time for individuals to be able to make. I know Ron and I have both been, and other colleagues have been in the situation where sometimes we speak to prospective clients for years. Sometimes we are retained on a consulting basis, and that's fine. And we're there to be a resource and an advisor, and to make certain whether or not that marriage comes to an end or not, that the individual that's seeking out our advice is well protected, educated, informed, and has all of the tools that they need to be able to make those important decisions. And I think that's important. And with that said, Ron, I'll pass it over to you, because I think you wanted to share a story that touches upon some of these facts.
I do. And just to piggyback on a point that Elizabeth made, folks, love is idiosyncratic. We all have our reasons for falling in love with the people that we fall in love with. Well, unfortunately, divorce is also idiosyncratic. The reasons that lead to that decision are really the reasons that you have internally. Those are your reasons. And we're not in the business of trying to talk you in or out of those. We just want to make sure that you're committed to the process and that you understand the process fully before you get into it. And we all view, I know Elizabeth and I both talk about this at length, and as well as all of our other partners and associates at Burns and Levinson, we believe that we're partners in this aspect of your life. And we're here to help guide you and give you information about what is an emotionally harrowing process. It is, but we're here to make it a little better for you. And we are cognizant of that. And we go into the process with that in mind. So Elizabeth made reference to the story that I sometimes tell. It's called the Joe story. The client came to me, his name was Joe. And this is probably about 15 years ago. I'm relatively early in my practice. A gentleman came to me and he said, I think that I need to talk to you about getting a divorce. And I said, sure. Can you tell me some of the reasons why you think this? And he said that she keeps secrets from me, that she is often mean to me when we talk about sensitive issues. We have a loss of intimacy. We no longer have sexual relations. I feel like whenever we talk, it results in an argument. And candidly, I fear that the more I've gotten to know her in the 5 years that we've been married, we don't share the same values anymore. And candidly, those are all reasons that are perfectly valid for somebody to feel like they're at a crossroads in their life and maybe they ought to consider getting a divorce. So I heard him out. But one thing that he never said was he wanted to leave her, that he didn't like her. As a matter of fact, as he's conveying the story, it's very clear that he was in a tremendous amount of emotional pain. And everything that he was talking about was the way she treated him. He didn't feel like he had any animus toward her. It was an overwhelming sense of sadness. And I said to him at one point, I don't want to interject. This is my business. I'm a lawyer. I'm not a therapist. But are you still in love with your wife? And he said, very much so. Very much so. And I said, okay, have you talked about therapy? And he said, honestly, no. I've been so afraid that she's going to leave me. I've been afraid that if I even mentioned therapy, it would just force her way out of the door. So I figured I needed to come see you. And I said, well, with all due respect, if you want to save your marriage, filing for divorce is not the way to do it. What you need to be doing is saying to your wife, I think we have problems. Let's go talk about them. And it was a very emotionally harrowing conversation for him. And I remember it distinctly. He left my office. He was very appreciative. And he expected and told me that he would be in touch within a week. I didn't hear from him in a week. I didn't hear from him in a month. I didn't hear from him for almost 9 months. And I got a telephone call from my secretary telling me that Joe wanted to sit down and meet with me. And I went into the conference room and I sat down and met with him, and we kind of, caught up with one another's lives. And I said, I remember the last time you were here, I told you to go to therapy. And he said, yes, I did. And he said, and I just want to tell you, I really appreciate the fact that a divorce lawyer was telling me not to get divorced, that you told me to try and fight to save my marriage. And that's the reason I came to see you. I'm not going to interview any other lawyers. You're the guy for me because you told me something that was hard for you to tell me. It was hard for me to hear. And I respect you for it. I thank you for it. And I said, so therapy seems to have worked. He goes, oh no, I hate her. I want to get divorced. And, I don't mean to make light of the situation, but there was a distinct difference between the guy who came into my office the first time and the guy who came into my office the second time. The guy who came into my office the second time knew exactly who he was dealing with. He knew exactly what he wanted, and he knew exactly what he didn't want. And he didn't want to be married to this person anymore. He was resolved and he was committed. And because I had given him the hard news that maybe he ought to fight a little harder and try to save his marriage the first time he came in, he knew he was dealing with who he was dealing with. He knew what he wanted, and he was much more committed to the process. And our rapport, our sense of trust, was only benefited. He became one of the best clients I've ever had. If I said jump, Joe knew to say how high. And as a result of that, we had a good working relationship, and we were able to work through a very difficult process with a good result for him.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, I know that you've had similar experiences. Could you share one of those with our audience?
Sure, no, absolutely. And so, clients, needless to say, come to us at all different stages of their thought process as to where they are. Sometimes clients know instinctively they need to file for divorce or proceed with divorce. Other times it's not so simple. And one case I thought about when I was trying to think of various ways that clients make their way to you and how we can be helpful to clients at various stages. I recalled a special client of mine. I had been on maternity leave with my son, and I worked a decent amount by choice through my maternity leave. It was in the summer. I had an easy baby. But I received a call from a shared contact of this client and myself that had said to me, and I'm going to just paraphrase, nothing specific, but had said, would you mind meeting with this person? They have XYZ lawyer in Boston. It's not going well. The attorney's fees are very high. The attorneys don't seem to get along. The case seems to be stagnated. And really, really good person. And would you be willing to speak or meet with them? And I said, certainly. And this individual also asked who some other really good lawyers were in Boston. And I mentioned one or two. And this individual chuckled and said, well, the wife has that person. Very good lawyer who I respect immensely, who I really respect immensely. And, so in any event, I met with this prospective client, figuring I would just, as a courtesy meet. He didn't happen to know that I was on maternity leave. He didn't ask, I didn't share. And it happened to be that we were in the same place for the summer. And so I gave my young baby to my husband, who did a few drives around the block with a bottle. And I went for a cup of coffee and to meet this individual. We had probably about an hour meeting, shared what the difficulties were. And I gave some initial advice and feedback. And the individual ended up switching counsel soon thereafter and said to me after, I can't thank you enough, A, for meeting me. I now know you have a young baby. B, for doing so quickly. C, without any obligations. And you gave me such honest, frank, and fresh advice. And he said, you really seemed to care about me and my children without knowing me. And he was able to say it quite eloquently. And it wasn't something, that I thought of initially. I just wanted to help. And I think I can say for all of us, in our department, Ron, myself, we are helpers. We are advisors. We care about our clients immensely. We want to see the best for them. And I think, we bring, a real perspective to our cases. And, and so that was something that stuck out for me, because when I think, of any number of clients, when they come to you, we're always of, the position, there's no pressure. If we can be of assistance, great. I spoke with somebody on Friday that has another lawyer. I said, your lawyer is a gentleman. I know him. And I just gave him an hour of my time to give a second opinion. And he was in touch with me over the weekend because he appreciated that time and the care. And we really do care. And I think that's what matters. And I think it shows and helps, our clients and our clients' families.
And I love the phrase you used, Liz, that the client used to you, which was that you gave honest and you gave frank advice.
Mm-hmm.
And folks, I can't emphasize this enough. Trust is of critical import when you're dealing with your divorce lawyer. When you're trying to find a divorce lawyer, ask yourself, can I trust this person? Can I trust that this person is going to sometimes give me the truth, even if it's a truth I don't want to hear? Because that's very important. It's not always going to go your way 100% of the time. And it's important that the person who's guiding you through, again, which can be an emotionally difficult process, is giving you frank, sound, reasoned advice based upon not only their education and their law degree, but their experience and their integrity. So those are things that you should be trying to vet out when you're considering a divorce lawyer.
Absolutely. And Ron, if I could just dovetail onto that for a moment, because I think it's such an important point. And, expectations are so important, obviously, for any client, and making sure expectations are realistic or in accordance with the law as applied to the facts of your case. And, nothing in my opinion, is worse than giving a client, you know, expectations that are not aligned with realistic expectations in the court system or in proceedings. And I have one delightful client that always says to me, he's a really funny gentleman, I know you're going to tell me that I can't do X, Y, and Z and that I shouldn't, but hear me out. And we have this exchange, and it's fine. And sometimes, sometimes I'll say, that's a really good point, and let's
Yep.
think of it a different way, and we'll think through it. But at the end of the day, we are invested in our clients and getting them the absolute best result that we can. And so when clients are trying to determine, or even prospective clients, where do I go? What do I do? We try to give clients a realistic range of options. And sometimes this is prior to any decision, to divorce at all. Sometimes clients will say, just tell me, what would this look like?
Yep.
What do I need to think of? I'm thinking of retiring, or I'm out of work right now. I've had big, changes in my income, or we have, a child, that is about to go into college. There's any number of things, and we're always delighted to talk through and be able to just give realistic ranges of reality or options, because I think, being informed, and we love to educate clients as far as anything related to divorce and family law so that they feel empowered. And I always tell my clients, I want them to be engaged if they choose to do so, some more so than others. Sometimes clients are busy or just happy to leave it to us, but we want clients to be part of the solution. And the best results that we secure, in my opinion, are clients that are engaged, and we almost can finish one another's sentences, and that ultimately helps the client, which is what we're looking to do. And if we can settle, great. And I always tell clients, as much as sometimes cases have to be litigated, in my mind, I'm constantly thinking, can I get a better result for a client, taking into consideration the transaction costs of litigation at a trial or by settlement? And if I can get my client, realistically speaking, recognizing that nothing is absolutely certain, if I know I can do better by settlement or vice versa, litigating, that's what we're going to recommend to the client.
And what you're talking about, Liz, and just to emphasize this point for the folks who are watching from home or from your office or wherever you are, is collaboration and the value of collaboration. We want to be collaborative with our clients because, in truth, it is a advice job. It's about giving you sound, reasoned advice through a process. It's not necessarily about the result at the end of the day. The result matters at the end of the day. Don't let anyone tell you it doesn't. But if that's only what you're focused on, you're looking at the wrong things. You need to be thinking about the process holistically. And Liz's point about coming in and talking to a divorce lawyer early in the process is a sound one. Oftentimes, it works out best. I've had people come to me and say, I don't want to get divorced, but I want to know what the process is like. I want to know what options are available to me. I don't want to get divorced, but I'm concerned about this type of behavior. I've talked to him or her about this behavior repeatedly. They're not doing anything. What recourses do I have other than to file for divorce in order to deal with these issues? Can you help me with that? And I'm more than happy to sit down and talk to these people. And it's important that if you are looking for either a divorce lawyer or somebody to talk to about the divorce process in Massachusetts, that you look in the right place. So how do you find a divorce lawyer? The first thing you should do is your research. You should talk to people that you know that have been through the process. Ask them what they liked about their lawyer. Ask them what they didn't like about their lawyer. Reputation matters. It matters a lot. To Liz's point, we have a very candidly renowned and well-respected department here at Burns and Levinson. Most of us have excellent reputations. We're considered to be folks that are really in the high end of divorce lawyers in the city, but we're not the only ones. And I can tell you that we oftentimes practice against people, and clients will come to us and say, I think my husband's lawyer or my wife's lawyer is a complete and utter jerk. And we'll say, I know that person, can be a nudge, but they know what they're doing. We should treat them accordingly. Let's afford them a requisite level of respect, and let's really work out a process that fits for you. Experience matters. Generally speaking, when you're dealing with something as significant as the end of your marriage, you shouldn't necessarily rush into that process with somebody who only dabbles in divorce law. Divorce law is incredibly complex, and it's got a myriad of issues that it bumps up against. Complex issues of taxation, complex issues of estate planning, complex issues about business valuation. All of those things matter, and if you would be best served to have a divorce lawyer who's dealt with several of those issues. Again, to Liz's point and to my point, be careful about just being fixated on a result, and certainly be wary of a lawyer, any lawyer, who promises you a specific result. That's a problem, because oftentimes these actions can take several turns, both positively and negatively, and you need to be prepared for those swings. And it's more about, again, having a trusted advisor in your corner who's going to be able to kind of advise you throughout those swings than fixating on a specific result. Because if you fixate on a specific result, oftentimes you end up disappointed even if you get near to that result. So that's always a problem. Be concerned about that. Most importantly, be comfortable with the person you're dealing with. It's got to be someone you want to spend time with. I often, and I know Liz often as well, we're speaking to our clients several times a week. We're exchanging emails with them several times a week, sometimes on weekends. Sometimes we're meeting with them after hours. Sometimes we're meeting with them early in the morning. Sometimes we're meeting them at coffee shops or going to their home or meeting them for lunch. It's important that you're spending time with someone that you want to spend time with. Again, it comes back to trust. You don't have to be best friends with your lawyer, but you have to trust them. And you have to feel like you know that they know what it is that you need to get out of this divorce process.
Absolutely. And I'll just add in on that, Ron, and excellent points. And, some of the things that came to mind when I was thinking of this, and I think it's important when you're looking for a divorce lawyer, and Ron is absolutely correct. We have excellent reputations at Burns and Levinson. I think it's fair to say, but we're not the only shop out there, and we're not the only professionals out there. Honesty, integrity, and overall reputation, can't say enough about it. It's a small bar. I am the first to say when a client, comes in and they may be looking between me and two others, I am the first to say, if they choose to offer, he is a gentleman. He is excellent.
Yep.
She is excellent. All good options. I think that's the appropriate thing to do when you think that, and I'll bite my tongue every now and then if somebody's name comes up, or I'll guide a client in a different direction, or hopefully they're guided themselves. But ask around, ask, meet with people, meet in person right now, meet over Zoom, see if there's that connection. Different times, prospective clients will ask me, how long do you think it's going to take? How expensive might it be? I want to get this resolved. I hear you have a really good track record for getting cases resolved. Do you think you can get my case resolved? Those are tough questions. And I ask prospective clients all the time, tell me who else is at the table. Tell me if both you and your spouse are aligned with a desire to resolve things in an amicable, hopefully cost-effective and efficient way. And tell me who the other professionals are on the other side, because I'll tell you, if you get excellent settlement-oriented professionals on both sides, most cases can settle. Most cases can really settle. And dealing with inherently emotional and difficult issues that come up in divorce and family law, it is hard enough. You don't need professionals that are making it more difficult. Sometimes people will say to me, oh, I hope my spouse doesn't get somebody as good as Burns and Levinson, or whatever the case may be. And I say, au contraire, hope that they do.
That's exactly who you want, right?
Exactly. And when we see some of those same, say 7 to 10 names, a smile comes to my face and I say, we will get this done. Yeah. They are, excellent, and barring some unforeseen circumstances, we'll have a good ability to get it done. And so I say that because I think, it's just really important. This is your life. And if you've made the decision, or you come to the decision, or contemplating it, you want it to be handled with the utmost of discretion, professionalism, and not be taken in a direction that's not one
Yep.
desired by you.
Yep. I mean, I tell people this all the time that, it's really important that you're guided with somebody who knows what they're doing. I would have no hesitation if I were going through something this difficult to go with somebody like Liz. But Liz may not be able to handle my case because I work with Liz. So what would I do then? I would value other names that Liz were to give me about people outside of the firm. And I do that routinely because sometimes you just can't handle a case either due to cost or conflict. So you do refer it out. And generally speaking, Liz can tell you this as well as I, the times that we send out a case to another lawyer, it's not because we think that lawyer is a lollipop. We think that lawyer knows what he or she is doing, is intelligent, is thoughtful, and is going to, like us, work with our client in order to get the result that that client needs. And again, I just wanted to piggyback on something you said, Liz, because I do know that our time is starting to run short. One thing that I always tell clients is I don't want to get rich off of you. I want to get rich of all the nice things that you say about me to other people. I want to help a lot of people on a lot of different cases. I want to be the kind of lawyer that you think of when you think of a good lawyer, someone that you would have no problem referring your friends and colleagues to. That's the best advertisement I can get, is when someone who I've represented says to somebody else, you need to see my guy. You need to see Ron. You need to see Liz. You need to see someone who is going to sometimes tell you things you don't want to hear, but is always looking out for your best interest. So folks, I know that's a lot of information to digest about how to find a lawyer, but hopefully we've given you some guidance on things that you should be looking for in a divorce lawyer or in a divorce advisor.
Absolutely. And now maybe, as we are just about 37 minutes in, and we're going to try to be respectful and keep it to under 45 minutes. And if anyone has any questions, now would be a wonderful time, if you do, to put your question into the Q&A at the bottom. And certainly if people don't have questions at this time, or they want to ask them, after and directly to either myself or to Ron or to both of us, delighted to do that as well. But I'm certainly happy to answer any questions. And we're just so appreciative that so many of you were able to join us. This is really exciting for us, especially me and Ron, for it being the first episode of the Divorce Law Monitor webinar. It was really a pleasure to interact with all of you here today. And I hope everybody learned a bit and got to know both of us and a bit about Burns & Levinson, and we look forward to having the opportunity to be in touch in the future. And our sincere thanks, and we hope everybody has a great week.
Thanks, folks. Be safe.
Thanks so much. Take care, everybody.